Hi all friends, and before you start watching, subscribe and like this video. So, the gods and the Titans in peacetime. Anyway, the anime begins with the gods, who are called here, and the Titans have sealed the demons at the cost of their lives. There is only one goddess named Rin left on Earth, and she was given the responsibility of raising a new generation of gods. 800 years have passed and we are shown her apprentice named Heion. He's a pretty strong kid, but far from a teacher. After Heion was beaten by a sensei, the boy went for a walk. He was kept company by a smart kid named Isla and a girl named Paula. Since gods can move at unimaginable speeds, the guys made it to the North Pole in minutes, where a race of humans led by Professor O'Bane found an ancient demon. If you notice that the grandfather from somewhere knows about the demons, although 800 years have passed and all the witnesses of that time are long dead, people unfreeze the demon, and it immediately agrees with the young and the Dotans. It is inherent in him on an instinctive level. The demon sends Heion flying, crushes the girl, and impales the bespectacled man. However, the Dotans are alive and even, in a sense, awake. A few seconds later, Heion returns and kills the demon with a couple of blows. The professor tries to escape in a jet plane, but for the god to catch up with him is no problem at all. Forgetting that humans are rather fragile creatures, Heion crashes the plane, but it turns out that Obane's body is just a robot, which immediately self-destructs. Then we are shown a nun who was captured by soldiers and then sexually abused. I'll use clever speech patterns now. We also learn that Isley has some kind of secret. When the kids get back, they decide that they need to be prepared for an attack by demons, so they decide to resume their training with Rin. While Heion holds up pretty well against the old woman, the other two pretzels get the full blast and die at 2-minute intervals. By the way, Rin has never seen the floor because she was brought into this world by another god named Pronti. He, by the way, is also a disciple of Rin. They also explain to us how Idotens appear in this world. These are natural structures that are naturally formed in about 200 to 300 years. However, another god can speed up this process. Next, we are shown a girl general named Pescalate. The girl gives a motivational speech and sends her soldiers into battle, and also shows us inhuman strength. But so far we don't understand who she is. In the meantime, we are told about the forces and the Danes. In short, they are almost all strong, but they need a lot of training to get stronger. Heion, meanwhile, notices a sensor on the Rin, and the girl immediately breaks it, and explains what Idotens do in this world. They do not interfere in the affairs of people, but protect them from various extraordinary cataclysms, such as attacks by demons. Have you noticed how often the narrative jumps around? And the thing is, that the story is told to us from 2 points of view, namely from the Idotens and from the demons. The latter, by the way, have a meeting, and we learn that the king of the demons is none other than Professor O'Bane. And the general is also a demon. I'm not going to list them all. You'll find out as we go along. So, the demons dismantle the demo battle young gods against the demon. They believe they can easily defeat the Idotens. We are also told that the demon population is equal to 364. But they are not the same demons as that red giant. They are already a new kind of demons, namely intelligent demons. The demons decide they've had enough of hiding, especially since they've been exposed. O'Bane put a tracking sensor on the Heion, and the Isos moved it to the Rin. The demons find out where the base and the Daten are and decide to attack them first. So, during another Rin training session with the guys, the gods are attacked by a demon named Nickel. He immediately stabs the Heion, but that's not enough. A duel of sorts ensues, but the Nickel is strong, so Rin gets involved. Sensei barely defends himself, so he gets a lot of seemingly very dangerous wounds, but for a god it's nothing. Throughout the fight, Rin has no idea who she's fighting, since the demon she knows couldn't even think, much less talk. Nickel makes a surprise hair-raising attack from beneath the ground, but it fails to reach its target. Rin says it's over and the kids can go back. At first, Idaten thinks that Rin used paralysis to immobilize Nickel, but in fact the master just trumpeted her head. Just did it so quickly that no one noticed. Rin then kills another demon who was Nickel's partner, and then the demons realize they are in trouble. She reveals that Isla has people who work for him and study demons, so the demons are on a tilt. There's no way they can defeat the Dotans either, but they can't ignore them either, so O'Bane decides to at least kill the young gods. To do so, he assigns 3 demons to the task. At the same time, Rin decides to kill all humans, since you can't tell which ones are demon and which ones are human. She's a pretty radical girl, a blessing in disguise for the teacher to wait and ask for help from the Prontius. So, we meet an Idaten named Prontius. He turns out to be a rather cheerful fellow, who also kind of has magic. However, when he hears the name Rin, he catches a fierce tilt. Well, considering the kind of training this girl has, it's not surprising. Isla suggests that Heion train with Pronti, while he goes about his business. He explains to us how the magic works, which is generally unimportant since it won't be used in the future. Goggle, meanwhile, instructs the scientists to find a way to kill demons with various substances, like poisons, and then he is attacked by a pescalate who has trapped the kid. Ayada and Proscia are also attacked by demons named Kori and Neput, but they are all doomed to fail. Pix first catches the Flash in the face, then she is stripped naked, and toward the end they use drugs and an aphrodisiac to knock her out. It's not like Sweat flew a couple of punches, and Heion too fought another demon, long and hard, and eventually won. Isla, meanwhile, literally got inside the Demoness's head and rewired her bridge. He did the same with the other 2 demons. They are now his allies. We are also introduced to 2 other important demons. The first one is called Brandy, and she's kind of an empress, and the second one is called Miku, and she's a human tamer. And she also has incredible mindfulness and strategic thinking, so she's put in to watch the demos of the gods and look for weaknesses in them. Pretty much the same thing the Idotens find out, since Pixelate told them everything. She also told them that demons give birth to other demons, just like humans do, which is what they need slaves for. By the way, the resulting children have different mutations and different powers. When the demons tried to remove the randomness, they got Miku and Barket. They are very weak physically, but also have a very advanced nervous system. Meanwhile, Mika notices that Rin doesn't leave her place. She tells Obama about it, and the latter suggests that perhaps she is protecting the seal. Isla learns roughly the same information, but the bespectacled man realizes that the sealed demons have long been dead, and he assumes that Obame is Idaten too. Meanwhile, the Hayats are training with the demons. The kid is strong, but still not strong enough to win. Then he's given the tip of the hatchet. You just have to increase your weight during a punch, and then your strength will increase many times over. The kid picks up everything on the fly and learns a new technique. Francia is interested in the kid and decides to fight him. Meanwhile, Miku analyzes Hayata's strength and realizes that he is much stronger than he looks. She also figures out that the 3 demons have already been captured by the gods. Realizing how bad things are, Brandy decides to send her children out of the country so they can survive. She chooses the 3 she gave birth to on her own and orders them to take 1 demon each and get the hell out of the Empire. They do just that, and they are flogged off the floor and break into a joint church to barter with their so-called followers. It's true that people don't have much faith that these kids are gods, so they use firearms. We disapprove of that, of course, and so do the Danes. So we had to show a couple of divine things, like catching a bullet with our hands. At the communal table, Isla explains to the bishops that they have corrupted the teachings of the Prontia, who helped found this country. So now the people must do as the gods tell them to do, which is not to make war after there has been a military coup in the Empire. The bishops scratched their heads and agreed. First, they had seen how strong the Idotens were, and second, the gods were not picking the church's pocket, and that was the most important thing. Miku watched the demos the whole time and came to a disappointing conclusion, and so decided to take a couple of useful demons and get the hell out of the Empire. And you found out about it too late from Miku's double. In the meantime, the gods decided to attack the demons. Front cut off the Empire from the land, and the remaining strong demons decided to at least delay the gods, and so the coup began. The humans were sort of evacuated, and with the help of the Barcade began to track the hiding demons. Rin joined the battle against the Brandy, and Hayata stumbled upon a nun and other slave girls. Guy rescued them, and immediately engaged in combat with a demon emperor named Takashita. He turned out to be pretty strong, but the kid finished him off after a couple of tries. It didn't take Rin long to deal with the Brandy either. At one point, the demoness even thought she could defeat the god, but alas, Rin is too strong, though she is stupid. Meanwhile, the nun tried to save the dying emperor, but she failed. Because of this, she tilted so badly that there was another Idaten in the world that looked just like her. She was pulled by the Heion, by the way, which is cool. Oh, and the nun's name is Jill. In fact, so is the new goddess. Meanwhile, Rin is about ready to finish the brandy, but then Obame shows up, and he behaves and knows things only Rin's grandfather knew. The goddess loses her vigilance, and the demoness takes advantage of this, who uses the divine sword to launch a surprise attack. It turns out to be so powerful that it wipes out half the country and Obame at the same time. Also, most of Rin's body is destroyed, but that doesn't stop the girl from grabbing Brandy by the neck and breaking her the fuck off. After that, however, the goddess catches a powerful tilt. From then on, she just sits there and doesn't utter a word. Isla, meanwhile, is sorting out paperwork in the new state, with all her energies focused on catching the escaped demons. On the whole, only the Meku is really important. For example, the Empress's daughter is hanging out with some murky type who is using her to survive. They run from a human ambush through an underground tunnel, and to make sure the girl doesn't leave him, the kid has sex with the princess to get her pregnant by him. The other one, sort of the smart son of the Empress, comes in as a gangster and robs them of their business, and then makes some sort of base of his own there. Mick had already found some reclusive woman with an inheritance, broke into her house, and then killed her. Then one of her friends cut off her face and pretended to be that girl. Well, the youngest prince ran off with his girlfriend to some island where they made a baby. Except he was born a regular dumb demon who immediately attacked his parents and then took off into the ocean. The parents came to the gods for help, saying, "We surrender." So they were killed on the spot. Stupid, stupid. It's been 7 years, by the way. During that time skip, Hayata began to train the Half and the Jill. And Miku, by the way, had babies that she saved in the stomach of one of the demons. They're like her future husbands for the continuation of the demon lineage. I won't show you their coitus. Google it yourself. Miku, by the way, also found the Demon King. After that, she contacted the other survivors and gave them a new plan of action. By the way, the princess, meanwhile, has her babies in the lake without end. Okay, that's about the point where I'm floating. It's not going to be a coherent speech anymore, so sorry. Another 7 years went by, and there were quite a few unintelligent demons in the world. Of course, the princess had a bunch of monsters, and now the gods had to deal with them. Micah's husbands have grown up too, and now they mate with each other, but they can't have new babies. Also, Ring came to her senses, and immediately tried to save the floor from the demon, but the girl stopped her teacher, as the demon turned out to be Cory, who was on the side of the Idotens. And in general, Cory slowly fell in love with the floor. Piscalat, by the way, also fell in love with the floor, but we won't find out how. This line ends as the Demon King kidnaps the girl and rolls her brains back to default settings. Piscalat immediately kidnaps the Isla. Then they summon Cory and the floor to the base. Cory is rolled back to factory settings and the floor is kidnapped. The demons then blow up the god's command center. Meanwhile, the prince and his girlfriend torture Isla and the floor. When Cory sees this, doubts overtake him and he withdraws from the torture chamber. Generally, there are a lot of small details here, but the retelling drags on, so let's quickly move on to the most important details. Jill, who is a nun, decides to bend her line to the end and suggests that the gods compromise with the demons and create a world where everyone can exist together. Isla says that this is impossible, but the girl is determined to find such a way. Meanwhile, Jill, who is a Idaten, contacts Pronti by telephone, and he tells her the whole situation. Rina Hayata immediately go to the aid of their cousins. True, they don't know in their hearts where to begin their search, so Rin just runs around the world hoping to find her students. This is where the first season ends.